These are our conscious coffee chats about waking up every day, living from your heart. And my name is Audra, and this is
Sandy. Hello.
Yes, and so how we started this whole thing was that we've always had talks about consciousness and all kinds of wisdom, spirituality, like just life in general, and how to make life better. And what we want to present today is just food for thought or coffee for thought on just looking at things a little differently. And so we just decided to start having these chats live because we've done it for over a decade with each other.
Right.
And we just want to share from our heart. And we hope that, in sharing that it'll touch your heart, even if it gives you one little, snapshot of like, oh, that might work for me. And it can help you just, shift into your consciousness. So the topic of today is consciousness and how that all came together and what that means to be conscious and awake. And Sandy, my mom, has a very special story to share with you about how really this all began and how her life has developed because of it. So you want to go ahead and share that?
Sure. When I was a senior in high school, I had an asthma attack and I woke up in heaven. Or another plane for sure, whatever you want to call it. I remember ascending up and it was dark, and in one instant it was all consuming love, white, unconditional love, and I was standing or sitting, what we were doing, I was communicating with God and He with me. And the whole story behind that is I asked God, what am I doing here? How did this happen? And He responded, you're the one who wanted the meeting. What do you want to know? And I went, oh my goodness, okay, I do have a problem. I go to church every week. I have Sunday school. I have what I would call back then a religious background. And it didn't seem like there was God in the background. There was a lot of talking and a lot of principles, but none of them integrated into any of our lives other than do this, do that, leave that, do more rules, but not practical application for everyday living. So that was my question. And God's response to me was, you're not looking far enough into what's available to you. And I went, what does that mean? And He said, you're just looking at what's the surface stuff. That's all surface stuff. If you want to know what's going on, look deeper and ask within. And start to be consciously aware of what's going on. And I understand that it isn't working for you. So as a result of that, that's leading you to a different place. So I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So if I'm not receiving what I need for myself, just keep looking and it will appear. And He said, yes, because what happens is you begin to choose differently and you begin to create the answer. And I went, what? And He said, Sandy, what you're talking about is free choice and free will. And I went, okay, that's pretty big. And He said, that's all there is. You have free choice and free will. And when you start choosing and saying, that's not working for me, you're actually creating something that you could say, this might work then, because what that free choice and free will does is the universe brings in different situations for you to challenge, for you to look at and say, just like you came to the conclusion, what's working now, what looks like now, it never fits together. So I went, okay, I can get that. And He said that you reincarnated to have with a contract, and you have free choice and free will. And your life comes together as a result of that, if you keep looking and you keep choosing and you're conscious of what's going on around you. It's really important. So I said, okay. And then He said there's universal laws, and these universal laws, which we'll discuss on other videos, they're all energetic and they all come to you based on where you're choosing and where you're going. And if you're not even conscious of yourself, you can't even see that something's coming into your space, but you're kind of, I'm going to use my word, I don't see it because I was like, well, the rule is no, none of that. And the unconscious rule was, well, you can't go in that direction. So that's why we never see it until we start saying, well, that can't be the rule because it's not working.
So you're like starting to ask questions or different questions or just bringing up your awareness, which is consciousness, right?
Yes, and you start to identify like, oh, well, that's different. That's the point. That's the point. And my heart opened up, my soul opened up, and I began to see things way differently, way differently, because it's almost like they were right in front of me all the time, but my perception then was, I can't do this, I can't do that, this is acceptable. I mean, it was so
all
enclosed.
The beliefs and structures of living already 17 years.
Right.
It's like, how do you get out of that?
How do you get out of that? And here,
how do you navigate, right?
Right. There was no navigation. It was a yes or a no.
Right.
So, as a result of the wisdom and the love, and I have to tell you, the unconditional love that God has for us, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it at all. It's undescribable, but it is so wonderful and so comfortable. And there's nothing to fear about God. Nothing.
Yeah, that's powerful in itself, right?
Right. And the fact that He was the one who said it's a free choice, free will universe just blew me away, so to speak. I have never heard that in a church yet. All this time later. Never. Have you?
Nope.
And here I decided, okay, this is really okay because this is more truth than I've had my whole life. So I said, now what? And he said, Sandy, you came here with your free choice and your free will. So what would you like to do? And I said, oh my goodness, you're God and you're telling me it works here too? He said, absolutely. I will not violate your free choice or your free will. That never goes. And I'm like, whoa, okay. I want to go back because I think I've got some things to do. And then I woke up in a hospital, being resuscitated, continuing to be resuscitated, and air put in my lungs. So that's what changed the direction of my life and took the old GPS system, so to speak, and threw it out and gave me a new one and said, question everything, see how you're feeling, go in your heart, does it fit, doesn't it fit? You decide what goes and what doesn't go. So that's the story. Do you have any questions about that?
That was just the start of like your life of like looking at things completely differently.
Absolutely.
And seeing that there's way more to the story than we've been told or been shared or whatever it might be, right? Because there was an opening there to be like, okay, this is definitely different than here. And
it was like getting a new car with a GPS system and going on the open road that you never went again. But it was exciting, it was invigorating, it was joyful and happy. Like, I get to be me now instead of living this narrow, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no.
Right.
And it was just totally amazing. And
Yeah,
it still is amazing to me now, to this day. Every day is amazing.
And the funny part that you've always shared is like there is no such thing as like guilt, shame, or forgiveness. Like it wasn't about forgiveness when you got to God. It was like unconditional love. Like there was no forgiveness, which that's even like hard to wrap your head around, right? Because you're taught like, oh, you've sinned or you've done this, and now God has to forgive you. And I think it's more just, if anything, you have to forgive yourself for stepping out of that unconditional love, kind of, in a sense, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that was one of his comments that I'll never forget, and I actually teach on it. And it is, you can't get it wrong. I'm like, what?
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
You can't get it wrong. No, you can't get it wrong. It's free choice, free will. If you think you feel that it's wrong, you change it because you've got the power to do that. So you don't need to be stuck all these places. And if you feel stuck and you're by the side of the road, is what I call it. You take a little side road and sit on it and go, what's going on here? And then you go, I just don't like the direction. Guess what? You change it. Oh, that was easy.
Right. And the other thing I noticed, like, about even the story was that things were just easy and simple. It wasn't like all this nonsense
No,
of,
I didn't need
you know, there
outline,
wasn't, right. There wasn't like, oh, well, you did this, so therefore I can't answer you, or
Right.
like some crazy talk.
Mhm.
Just, you know, it was like, I'm here. Like, what do you want to do? Like, you're me, I'm you, we're good. Like, here, it's only unconditional love. There's like not all this, there wasn't all the contrast like we live here, right?
Well, because they call it dark and light, and
Well, that's what I mean. There was
the
none
clouds
of that.
and right.
It was just simple. It was refreshing. It was easy. It probably would, to me, would have been like really hard to even come back after experience that type of love. You know what I
Right.
mean? That was a really big decision at 17 to be like,
just to be willing to
ooh,
go
I don't
back.
know. Right. Because this probably feels so good. You know, like,
absolutely. It would have been
just-
very easy to stay, but
mhm.
my soul was calling me back to the place where I
Right.
said I would do some work.
Right.
So that's
You weren't
the
done
message.
learning here and sharing a different perspective. And this is why we're calling it Conscious Coffee Chats, because it's time to open up to your heart. It's time to live from your heart. It's time to return to the oneness that you are, and remember that unconditional love like Sandy really experienced on a whole nother level. So our gift to you is like, we're just sharing from the heart, right? We're just wanting people to see a different perspective. We want to know that love and unconditional love does exist, and it's not hard to get there, and it's not all these rigorous
really, this is what we're sending out an invitation today. You really do have free choice, free will. You can agree with us or not, and when you don't, you go, oh, I have another choice.
Right. It's that simple. There's no stick that comes out to beat you with, right?
Right. There's no reason not to do what you need to do, because nobody's stopping you. Once you become conscious, you realize, I'm in charge. I never imagined, and you might have to learn how to take charge, which is a challenge in itself, and a mystery sometimes. But
move beyond the mind chatter and the perceptions and beliefs. But other than that, like,
any restrictions we have, we're doing it to ourselves.
Right. It's learned.
The only restriction I have is, Sandy, just walk in love like the love you met, and that's really, you know, do no harm to anybody without making the big deal or the big scene or any, you know, violence or anything. Do what you have to do.
Separation, like there was none, right? Like there was none. That was that just had to feel amazing with the no separation. Just the, I don't know, the hug, like a big blankie, or you know what I mean? Like it's
an ongoing hug is what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we just showed up today to really introduce ourselves, share a little bit of that, and as we continue, we're just gonna, you know, share as we go, and just want you really to, you know, embrace the journey and live the life you came really to live. So we're just gonna hit all kinds of topics. If you have questions or concerns, we do consulting, Akashic Record consultings, and intuitive consulting, and just to help people really come into their own, like no judgment, no nothing. What do you want? Just like live your life, right? Like it's time to show up. It's showtime, right? What can you do? What can you manifest? How do you want to live? It's just time. So we're just going to end on that note today, and everyone enjoy their day. If you really like this topic and our story, share it with your friends. Let them know that, you know, we're sharing hope, we're sharing faith, we're sharing trust. We're asking people to just show up and really live in that space of loving kindness and goodness. So we're going to end that. Again, it's no matter what you're at, it's always about you. Conscious Coffee Chats, and we will catch you on the next video. Enjoy your day, guys.
Yep.